somebody's already here.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do a Instagram story real quick. Oof, my shoulder keeps popping. God. Guys, it is the last Ouija Wednesday, and I'm here with Adam. What are we going to talk about today, Adam?
Serial killers, because people wanted me to come back apparently and talk about serial killers. That's my mouth.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be real upsetting
Yeah.
if it's allowed.
Come join us. Okay. Guys, it is the last Ouija Wednesday. I love upsetting things.
How blue can we get?
Blue? What does that mean?
Like how, like, upsetting and...
Oh, like blue.
Like blue, like how graphic.
We can get gross.
Okay. Because there's not, I mean, it's all kind of par for the course except for like one or two people. Extension Garcia. Can they hear me?
Yes, I think so.
That's one way to enter chat. Saying hello, sexy, cute girl.
Oh no.
And your name is based off of a now dead rapper who was charged with domestic abuse.
Oh god, no, I don't want that. I don't want that! Take it away! Oopsies. Whoops. Okay, wait. I'm doing it. Wait, did I close it? No. 2, 1! Happy
Oh,
New
hello.
Year.
I was like, oh, we're starting.
Sorry.
I didn't know that's a countdown to start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, technically we're already live, but it's like a fake timer. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very last Ouija Wednesday, at least for now, because I just have things I need to do.
In actual life.
Yes. Welcome, people who have not been here for, you want to really quick just like read all the usernames that are here?
Oh, yeah. Hi. Mick Luna, I think, was the last one I was in.
Yeah, Mick Luna.
Kaylee, Super Lemmy Plush 64. My eyesight is atrocious.
I know. I was like, wait, I can't
Snow
even
Crew
read
family. Hello, first time watching live stream from you. You picked an upsetting one to
We're gonna get
come
real
into.
sad.
Aeon Knight, Squidward Tortellini. Hello.
Squidward Tortellini.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Kaylee, yeah, Super. I said yes. Hi, Super Lemmy. Clementine, an artist.
And the ones
I
down
think
there.
oh, and then the ones right. Gosh, Death's Channel. Hello. Hello. Too many hot Cheetos. Grace Trappine. Death's Channel again. Azul. Hello. America's Reject. Abigail Rodriguez, which I'm assuming is just your real name.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ouija
Hello.
Wednesday. I'm joined again by Adam. You came like a month ago or something? It was a couple weeks ago.
It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And last time, I don't remember what we talked about last time, but like your
we
college
talked about
ghost
college,
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we're going to be talking about really upsetting. Ooh, thank you for hosting. Really upsetting serial killer stories.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yay.
I think last time we were on, we took a strange left turn into talking about serial killers, and then I said I have a top 5 list.
Yeah.
And so I made a top 4 list, and then 5 I have one in the chamber for 5, but I kind of want to just leave it also up to chat to ask any questions or just suggest people about.
I have some questions too.
Okay. So I don't know how you want to start this.
Is it do you have is it a countdown where you're like number 5, number 4, or you just kind of these are 5 people I would like to talk about?
There is one who is at the top of my list, and you've probably we've talked about before, and I'm sure Rachel Evans has brought him up, is Carl Panzram.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's been brought up on here at all.
She brought him up once, but not really.
He's my number 1, which I know I'm aware of how weird it is to just be these are my favorite
right, yeah, let's just
murderers.
Let's just get the weirdness over with.
Yeah.
We don't we're not fans of these people.
It's not a fandom of what they did or who they were. It's a fascination with the psychology that operates behind what creates a person to become a serial killer or a mass murderer or something like that. It is a fascination with that. Yeah. Which then leads into a lot of people well, that's weird. Yes, it is. Openly, it is weird.
Right.
But as anyone who says that is also probably the same person who slows down on the freeway when there's a car accident to see if they can see something. Yeah. So it's get off your high horse about it.
No, everyone is fascinated with
Everyone is fascinated
shit.
with the macabre and death.
Yes, to different degrees.
But
everyone to a degree.
Everyone to a degree is fascinated with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the one I wanted to start off with is Carl Panzram, who is like a weird American folktale in a sense. Mm-hmm. And he's not really a serial killer as much as he is like just kind of walking destruction. And I just have a list. All of the notes are coming right out of my brain. So if I get stuff wrong and you're a big serial killer fan, like, correct me. Don't be
fact check.
Yeah, fact check. Don't be shitty about it.
Yeah, don't be rude about it.
But Carl Panzram came about in the 1800s. He's the son of German immigrants who moved out to Missouri, and he grew up essentially in the Dust Bowl and became like a world traveling murderer.
Okay.
And the way we know all this is because he actually wrote his own story. Before he was executed, when he was in jail, he met a prison guard who he actually he said he was the one person he did not want to murder. I forget the name of the prison guard, but he's the guy who saved all of Panzram's notes. And then published them into a book, because the book's called like Carl Panzram in his own words. But so Carl Panzram grew up, like many serial killers, suffered a massive head injury as a child, which is like one of the things. And there's a thing called the McDonald Triad.
Okay, I've never heard of this.
The McDonald Triad is a psychological term that it's like these three things, and it's pulled from like a list of like 8 things. But these 3 things can get together, help create serial killers. Oh. So one of them is head trauma. So like people like John Wayne Gacy suffered a head injury as a child. I believe Dahmer suffered one as a child.
I actually didn't know any of that. Oh,
yeah. Okay. So head trauma is one of them. Abusive father is one. Overprotective or super demanding mother is another one. Signs of wetting the bed. It's the same thing with if a child is like prone to hurting animals.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's like animal abuse is another one. So like it's like a bunch of like things that make up a soup that create a serial killer. And so he was a person who grew up, suffered a head injury from had to get like actual like brain like surgery done, but it was during the Dust Bowl in Missouri, and so it was like a guy who showed up who I guess was like euthanizing horses earlier that day to come work on a child's brain. Kind of rattled his brains around.
Just poking it.
Just was probably half a bottle deep and just like touching a child's brain with a stick. Also became a full-blown alcoholic at 8.
My God!
Like started drinking alcohol at 8 years old. Like committed his first robbery at like 8. Like went into a neighbor's house, took an apple, like some food, and a gun that he found. Went to a Catholic school, which was at that time it was an all-boys school, boarding school, where they kind of beat Christ into you. And he talks about all this in his book, how much he despised Christianity. Because like everyone he was learning from was like, well, this is what God wants, and would just beat them with like belts and cats of 9 tails, which is like this, if you don't know what that is, it's like this multi-headed whip kind of thing. And then they would like drip like salt water soaked towels on their backs to like teach them a lesson, like just old country stuff like that. Got older and older. Like when he was 14, he tried to shoot a priest at the school he was going to, but thankfully there was no bullets in the gun. Like just without hesitation went up like with a revolver and pulled the trigger like 6 times and nothing happened. But like, and all the priest did was like send him home. Cause that's like, it was like the 1840, like going into the, not 1840s. When was Taft president? Because he actually he did steal a gun from President Taft's, like beach house at one time in his life.
Hang on, let's address the chat for a second. Boobs? Why is everyone saying boobs? I don't know why, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
What? Rooney potato what?
Sapphire. Yes, we're listening.
What? Is it because you could see my bra? Is that it? Grow up! Just kidding. It's fucking hot in here.
I was gonna say, yeah, it is very warm in here. I had a sweater on earlier. I was like, I'm bringing a spare t-shirt to change it to because I don't want to sweat through it.
Sorry, I know that sounds really hot. I guess there is no reason.
I guess
so
someone just started saying it and then started going.
Okay, sorry.
He's asking, aren't you scared?
Aren't I scared?
It's not that Carl Panzram isn't that scary as much as he's like. I mean, he's scary, but he became so.
Of the board.
But
continue your thoughts.
So he was sent home because in that time in like America, it's just like, oh, you pulled a gun on me and it didn't work, so you're suspended for the week. So crazy. Ended up joining the military at a later age, mainly, and then during the Spanish-American War, and I think some of the Indian Wars were still happening as well. Mm-hmm. Then went from there, which was his plan, just to go to Mexico and rob people. Like, would go to churches and rob churches and like try to sell the stuff. Got arrested for that. Spent a lot of time in prison. But he spent a lot of his time going around, and in his early ages was kind of passed around in like roustabout like drifter communities. Mm-hmm. So he spent a lot of his adolescence being sodomized by like pretty much train hoppers.
Wow. Okay.
Like it's all like he just lived a very sad life.
Yeah.
And as he got older and older, he internalized all of that sadness and hatred and kind of just like shot it back out at the world like tenfold.
Yeah.
Because then there was times where he went to prison and he was a terrible prisoner because he kept starting fights, and they had a thing. It was in the time where you would actually have like a ball and chain like around your ankle, and they would do this thing called giving them the baby, which is they would just give you a 50-pound like ball that's chained to your ankle, and you had to walk from like one part of the prison to another. So he would just do this for hours a day, just carrying like a 50-pound weight and getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And he was just a violent person. And in the book, his quote is, "My two favorite things in the world are whiskey and sodomy."
Wow.
Wait,
to sodomize or to be sodomized?
To sodomize.
Oh.
Because then he also writes how he learned from his school days and from his times in train yards, like what it could do to people, and he used it as a power motive. He was also, there's also the idea that he was gay, but tried to like, there's at one point he like he also traveled internationally. Like he went and worked on oil rigs down in parts of like Africa.
Wait, how did he get money for anything? From stealing?
Would just join militias. This is at a time where you could like...
Yeah, it was easy to do that.
It was easy to do. This is like the Cormac McCarthy, like Blood Meridian era of America. So you could just like go from town to town and murder someone and take whatever money they had and kind of just hop on a train and be out of there the next morning. And there's no way to track it.
The simpler times.
The very simple. Well, it's like up until even in the 50s, you hear stories of people who like, oh, my dad left, but we found out he moved like a block across the street, and we never knew because it was the 1960s.
Yeah,
and you couldn't track anyone.
Oh, that's so wild.
But so like he's an interesting person because he wrote all of his book. The prison guard told him to write notes. He would write down in his own words and hand the letters to the prison guard, who then held on to them. And everything in the book is back-checked. Like, they checked everything. And he tells the story. He's like, I murdered this boy. I bashed his head in with a rock at this location. He, like, on this day. And they, like, went through and they checked the facts. Or it's like, I burned down this oil rig, like, in this part of Africa. Because he hopped on a boat and would just go to Africa. When they found out, like, when the oil like company found out who he was, they didn't want him to come back to America, so they kind of just left him in Africa. God knows what he got up to.
Whoa.
But like, and I burned this town, I burned down this house, and the only thing that like was wrong about it was like how much money it cost. He's like, I did $100,000 worth of damages, and it's just like, no, it cost this much, but like that was burnt down. It did collapse. Like all of this happened. And like,
whoa,
yeah, and this went on for years. And like, he was sentenced to prison by Howard Taft, who at the time was an attorney general of the United States. And then years later, after he got out of prison, broke into his beach house and stole like.
Wait, while he was in prison?
No, after he got out of prison. He ended up dying in prison. He was executed, but they don't know the exact number of bodies, but they put it somewhere in the hundreds.
Huh. How old was he again? He was pretty young, right?
He died when he was like in his 30s, like 30s, early 40s. He's the person who is attributed that quote where they're about to pull the switch on the electric chair, and and they were reading his last rites, and he said, "Hurry the fuck up."
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was his.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. The whole quote was like, "Hurry the fuck up, you Hoosier bastards. I could have strangled like 10 people at like by the time you take to like light me up," like something like that. But it's this, and it's interesting because he doesn't fit serial killer mentality as much as he's just pure retribution, because everyone who crossed him, he just killed.
Yeah.
He was never really out with any kind of motive, because serial killers are broken down into two types of killers. There's product killers, which are, I think we talked about this last time, are serial killers who kill to get to a certain end. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, who we'll get to, was a product killer.
Okay.
And then there's process killers, who are people who get off on the process of killing, which is what Gacy was, who we'll also get to. So he was a process. So it's like, and like Jeffrey Dahmer, who is like, we'll get into him. But so Carl Panzram did none of that. There was never anything about it for him. It was just like kind of walking anger anywhere he went. Anyone who crossed him, he just murdered him. When he went into prison for the last time, he had this crazy reputation, and people, and it's just like, and he said to a bunch of people, he said, "I'm going to kill the first person who crosses me in here." And
did he kill anyone in prison?
Yes. And so also at this time, he was also fairly crippled, because at his last prison stay, he made a ladder out of gardening equipment and tried to scale the prison fence with it, and fell 30 feet and like broke both his legs. And they, instead of just like giving him actual medical attention, they left him in his like cell for like 8 months, where he just like laid in pain and like slowly rehabbed himself for 8 months, and wrote this whole plan on how to destabilize the American government, which involved bombs placed on a railroad track that had like a mixture of like explosive like minerals and formaldehyde to poison everyone on the train, so he could rob them.
Jesus
and his other plan at the time was to also steal an American naval uniform, row up to a British ship in port, and murder everyone on the ship to destabilize relations between America and Britain at the time, because the hope was, if anything, I blow up a British naval ship and I kill everyone on board. The other one is a British officer sees me rowing away in an American naval uniform, and then it creates all this craziness between America and Britain, which was very unstable at the time. This is all because he was lying in solitary confinement for months with like broken legs.
Yeah.
And rehabbing himself and just thinking and writing.
Oh my God.
And then.
Oh, good night, Snow Crew family.
We'll get to the Ouija board.
Thank you for joining. Oh my God, America's Reject.
We'll get to the Ouija board.
Relax.
And then, the person who crossed him in prison was this guy who was a former head of the KKK. So not a big loss that he was murdered, but he apparently got on his bad side. And when they were working together fixing washing machines, there was just a box of rebar left out.
What's rebar?
Rebar is like, you ever see those metal beams that have like the ridges on the outside of them? Mm-hmm. Like that's what rebar is. Rebar is what kind of like links cinder blocks and buildings. It's for construction. Mm-hmm. It was just laying out, took it and bashed the guy's head in and killed him. And then he went down to the warden's office to find him there and also kill him. And he wasn't there, thankfully. And then the prison guards overpowered him. And that was the last person he killed. But he apparently, in the notes, said that he walked by several prison guards who just did not stop him because of his reputation was so bad that they were kind of just like, "How you doing, Carl?" Yeah. Just like let him go.
Oh my God.
They're like, "Oh, you need help with anything?" Like kind of just like let him go by.
Wow. Wait. So like, what was the point where they were like, "Okay, this guy, we just need to fucking kill this guy"?
Because he finally got pinned on a murder charge of a child.
So that was
the final thing. And there was also a Christian group that was anti-death penalty that wrote a letter to have him saved, and he wrote them back telling them, "I don't need your help. I'd rather be dead than have your false god help me."
Wow.
And like told them that he would like gladly murder all of them given the chance.
Oh my
God.
God.
Anyone who was even trying to be nice to him, like he hated. Like he
just hated everyone.
He hated everyone. It's very interesting. You can read his book. Mm-hmm. It's like this thick. It's pretty small. And he's just this weird like drifter, mass murderer, like American like folktale of a person. And it just kind of shows how violent like the American like frontier was. Like even like in like modern times, like 18 like I forget when Taft was president, but like going into like the like 1900s, like just this crazy violent person. Next on the list is Gacy.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you. John Wayne Gacy, if you know anything about him.
A little bit, yeah.
Illinois' most prolific Gary Ridgway is the most prolific serial killer in America.
Which one's Gary Ridgway?
He's the Green River Killer. He's contributed with killing, I think, 48 women.
Oh, so what did he do?
He was the Green River Killer. He mostly killed prostitutes. And he was like, and it was a time where
Hi, Shadow Wolf.
They were just showing up, like prostitutes just showing up dead, and it was police who just didn't care.
Wow.
But the John Wayne Gacy, who killed 33 boys. Boys to like young teenagers. And he's also the clown.
Right.
Is what a lot of people associate John Wayne Gacy with. Is he was a here's the thing about John Wayne Gacy was a lot of serial killers are kind of loners for the most part. Like a good majority of them are kind of cagey, usually loners, kind of keep to themselves. John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy, who is also very prolific and well known, were both very popular and very friendly. Like they were pillars of the community. Like Ted Bundy was a young college Republican. John Wayne Gacy was like a Democratic like alderman in his like town. Like he was a construction foreman. He gave all these kids jobs, which is how he found most of his victims, which were teenage boys who were working for him construction jobs. And then, we're Shadow Wolf. We're talking about serial killers.
Right now we're on, who are we on?
John Wayne Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy.
Who he would give them jobs, have them come over to his place. He was also married with kids.
To a woman?
Yes, to a woman.
Oh.
So the first time John Wayne Gacy ever killed somebody was... There's always like the initial kill that happens. It happens with Jeffrey Dahmer, where he picked up a hitchhiker and brought him back to his place and killed him. With John Wayne Gacy, it was him and his wife were out at a New Year's Eve party, and his wife got very drunk and too drunk to drive, and John Wayne Gacy decided to just leave the party and go home. And on the way, he picked up a young male prostitute. They had sex. The next morning, he wakes up. The prostitute walks in holding a knife. Gacy flips, thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to kill me now." Tackles him, wrestles the knife away, strangles him to death. He climaxes during it. We're going to get gross. We're going to get real gross. Climaxes during it. Finds out, oh, this is what I've needed this whole time. And then it kind of goes from there. And the reason why the prostitute was holding a knife is because he made him breakfast. So he killed possibly the best prostitute in the Illinois area, where he stays the night and then makes you breakfast.
That's
even
extra
though
sad.
You're paying him, and so he's like, I might as well make you breakfast.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And then he went on to murder 33 boys, and he kept 29 of them in the crawl space of his house.
Wait, what happened to the other 4?
They were thrown into a river near his house. He took their bodies and threw them into a river. And during this whole time, like, he was also performing at children's parties as a clown named Pogo the Clown. Yeah. So, and like, he was super popular. Like, he would, like, people in the neighborhood loved him. They loved John. They thought he was fun. He talked a bunch. Like, he would go to barbecues with people. They would get hired for kids' birthday parties. And then the one thing about pogo that is really distinctive from clowns is most clowns, when they have like lip like paint around them, it's usually like kind of like circular, like oval kind of shape. Pogo's was pointed. His lip, like his mouth makeup was like this pointed red smile, which it speaks for itself, kind of like who he was as a person. Yeah. And his whole thing was when did this happen? This happened in the 1960s. Was when no, this is 1970s, because Dean Corll was operating in the early 70s, and he had the record of murders in the United States up until Gacy, who then lost it to Ridgway. Okay. We'll get to Dean Corll, who's also super gross.
I think you've mentioned him.
I mentioned him last time. Okay. He's very gross. But John Wayne Gacy, and then Sam Amarante, who was John Wayne Gacy's defense attorney, wrote a book called Defending a Monster, which is a very interesting book. But in it, Sam Amarante compares himself to John Adams defending the British soldiers at the end of the American Revolution. Okay. So it's this guy who compared himself defending a man who murdered 33 boys and hid their bodies in his house to John Adams. Yeah. Past American president John Adams. And John Wayne Gacy was being followed by the police. Like, there was, like, kids started turning up missing. All the links came to Gacy. They had this summer job as a construction. He was the construction foreman. Like, things were starting to link together. And John Wayne Gacy would invite them in for coffee, because they would they'd be staking out his house, and he'd be like, "Oh, you want to come in, like for coffee or whatever? Come on by." And they go and they're like, "Huh, kind of smells like bodies in here, because we're homicide detectives and we know what corpses smell like. Why does it smell like your house is a fucking graveyard?"
Is that when they found out?
That's how they ended up finding out.
Because he invited them in. He didn't think they would notice the smell?
They I guess not. He was just super confident, because he had like the respect of the neighborhood. Right. Because he was this dude who kind of had the respect of all of his neighbors. It's one of those situations where on the news where someone's like, "He was such a nice guy." Like, whenever something horrible happens, and there's always that one person who's like a neighbor, they're like, "He was such a nice person." Right. And
that shit though, that makes me wonder if like there's anyone that like, because I feel like for the most part people are pretty good at telling when people are off. Yes. So I'm just like, I find it incredibly hard to believe that people could be so fooled by someone who was like a monster. Like, I wish I could like meet these people and see like what they saw. I don't know.
We'll go to Jeffrey Dahmer, because because
he was a little bit. People did think he was a bit off. Right?
They did, and so I should actually put Jeffrey Dahmer at the top of my list. Now I'm saying this, and I understand how weird this is going to sound. Jeffrey Dahmer, I think, is the most sympathetic serial killer that has ever lived. And he is a monster. What he did was completely horrific. There's no denying that. There's no like saying, no, he was a good person. Right. But
I know. Sorry, the chat's weird. Yeah. If I have any of my mods in the YouTube, can you guys do your job?
Get rid of someone.
Okay. Sorry. What?
Yeah, you who is here. So Jeffrey Dahmer, who is the pride of Wisconsin, which Wisconsin has a very like weird track record of like producing serial killers.
What is it about Wisconsin?
I think it's the wide open space, which is why Ed Gein operated for so long.
He was also Wisconsin?
He was also Wisconsin. He wasn't a serial killer as much as he was just a grave robber and a skin artist.
Skin artist, like a tattoo artist? Yeah.
God. But no, Jeffrey Dahmer grew up in Ohio. Grew up in Ohio, moved to Wisconsin, became infamous for being the serial killer where they found heads in his fridge, a bunch of male genitalia in a cooking pot on his stove.
He was eating them?
Never confirmed. They believe maybe at one time or another. He also had blue, like, industrial tubs in his house, in his apartment, not even a house, in his apartment, where he was like trying to decompose bodies to get rid of them. And there's a great documentary called The Dahmer Files, which is definitely on Shudder.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah. And they interview his neighbor in it, and she talks about how nice of a guy he was, and how like he would give her a sandwich every now and again, and like he kept to himself. Like the people in the apartment complex really liked him. And then, yeah, when the cops finally raided his place, they found the remains of multiple male prostitutes, like bones, skulls. At points, he tried to actually create zombies. Like he tried multiple times to create like sex zombies, or like someone just to kind of like spend time with him. So he would strangle these men, or like incapacitate them by some way, and then would drill a hole into their forehead and then drop like, I forget what type of acid it was, to kind of like lobotomize them in a sense. And every time it ended up just fucking killing them, because he's not a doctor. Like he's like, so he tried that a few times on occasion. But the reason I said he was the most sympathetic is he grew up in a time where being gay was still super frowned upon. He grew up in the Midwest, and he talks about in interviews when he was in prison, and he's very lucid. Sorry, my dad just texted me, said move on from Dahmer and talk about Gritty.
Is your dad watching?
My dad's watching. He
Hi,
goes
Adam's dad.
talking about Gritty, the new Philadelphia Flyers mascot.
Oh, I have seen that.
Oh, he's great. I love
frightening.
him. I love him. But he's the most sympathetic because he has talked about, he's like, I would have to get blackout drunk to do what I did. Because it was never about killing people. It was just, he was a product killer because it was, I need this body. And like he's talked about, like when he was a kid, he had these fascinations with this like jogger in his neighborhood, who he wanted to like just like lay next to as like a corpse, and like all this insane stuff. And if you keep asking for the Ouija board America's Reject, it's not going to happen now. You know what? So chill.
I'm putting it away.
I'm gonna rip it in half. And then buy Sapphire a new one. So
no, don't.
Check yourself. All right, America's Reject. Jeez.
Wait, hang on. We're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
I'm gonna make some people some mods. Who wants to be a mod? Let's see. Who's been here a lot? Oh, I think Grace Japan should be a mod. Add moderator. Boom. Grace, you're a moderator now. She can't hear me. Who else? Azul, you're a moderator now. Boom.
It's all happening.
Do you know what your dad's username is? Did you not put?
I don't think he has. I think he's just watching.
Oh.
He doesn't know how to do this stuff.
Oh, that's fine.
He
I was like, I'll make your dad a mod.
Oh God. My dad's the same person who, I'm about to blow up his spot on this. When I forget.
What happened? Oh, yay!
Oh, feels good.
Thank you, Azul.
Whenever AOL was at like its peak, like AIM was at its peak. I forget what year that was. It was early 2000s. I'm upstairs in my bedroom and I hear my dad start screaming my name. He's going, Adam, and like that's like the yell for like I did something wrong to like come downstairs. And I go into his office that was in our house, and he's sitting at his computer. He goes, 2 people are sending me instant messages at the same time. And I go, and he's like, how do I stop it? And I'm like, you click the X. That's in the, you don't have to answer him. He's like, I just don't want to talk to anyone. I was like, put an away message up then. Like,
oh, dads.
The most like dad thing that's ever happened.
Oh my God. Did you hear about, well, I was watching, sorry, tangent real quick. I was watching that video that Samsung recently released where they're like totally just like shitting on Apple. Did you watch that? It's hilarious. I love it. But I'm like, they mentioned something in there where they're like, oh, the Apple or the new iPhone, you can FaceTime 32 people at once. Do you remember that part? And then the guy's like, why would anyone want to do that ever? And I was like, that can't possibly be real. Is that real? I don't know.
Is that real?
I don't know, but how wild would that be? I feel like that's an Apple thing.
That sounds like a nightmare.
I don't even know if it's real.
That sounds like on a DVD like season of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, they had a play all option, which on any other DVD would just play all the episodes straight through. But what it does was the joke was it played every episode on that DVD at the same exact time, so it just broke the screen up into like 20 smaller screens, and so you have the Aqua Teen Hunger Force like theme playing at different moments. Like, that's
so fucking funny.
Like. My name is like that like drop happens at like different intervals like all the time.
That.
It was so
That's
funny.
Hilarious.
We found that out in college.
Hi, Mikey Milo 25. Do you know who that is? Sounds like someone who knows us, maybe.
It might be my friend Mikey Mullen. If that's you, Mikey, then
hi, Mikey.
Mikey Milo 20. It probably is. Is that you, Mikey? He said he was going to tune in because there's a Ouija board and he hates Ouija boards.
Ooh, spooky. From Hasbro, I think.
From Hasbro.
Woo.
But so what I was saying was Dahmer's the most redeemable because he talks in interviews about how he would have to get blackout drunk to even commit something like this.
So then what does that like mean though? Like if you're only capable of doing it when like you are inhibited by alcohol?
Me, I think it's a thing with a mental health issue where he was definitely... Oh, it is Mikey. Hi, Mikey. Mikey just recently got married. That's whose wedding I was at.
Congratulations.
Him and Jordan. They're a beautiful couple. A beautiful wedding. Thank you. I think it's a mental health situation because he grew up in a time where being gay was seen as taboo or gross or like slight against God, wrong in any way. And they talk about how his father tried to make him more normal. I met one of the detectives that interrogated Dahmer at Maryland Film Festival a few years back. It's probably the guy who was in the Dahmer Files with a giant mustache who tried to create his own fame and then kind of never got
his fame off of Dahmer?
Off of Dahmer.
That's weird.
Because Jeffrey Dahmer also told him, I will make you famous.
That's weird.
Because he asked him, he goes, are you searching my apartment right now? And he's like, well, yeah, there's cops going in there. Fine. He goes, I'm going to make you famous.
That's
sorry. But I think it was that mixed with some type of mental health issue where if he was able to talk to someone or get some kind of medication or something, I honestly feel like a lot of it could have been avoided. I feel like it probably would never have happened. I feel like if he had like talked to someone because his father like gave him weights like to lift, and so it was like you're gonna do this because it's normal, and his parents realized he was weird. He also came from a broken home where his mother had I think manic depression and undiagnosed schizophrenia later on in life. They divorced. His dad kind of just like left him after college. He gave him a car and it was like, there you go hit the road, like go to college or whatever. His mom moved out, took his little brother with him. Bye, Clementine.
Sorry, bye, Clementine and Artist. Thank you for always showing up on the streams. Sorry, what?
I hope we'll see more of you. Thank you. And then kind of just left him to his own devices. And again, it was a situation where he had a fascination not with killing animals, live animals, but he had a fascination with dissolving animals in acid in a shed by his house.
Okay.
And he had a bunch of jars filled with animals and would dissolve them in acid just to see their bones. He was obsessed with that. So he was like obsessed with the process of that. He came from a very bad family situation. He was also, again, a full-blown alcoholic at 14. He was going to high school and would just drink throughout the day. In My Friend Dahmer, they cover that in the movie where you see him, he just goes around and is just pounding vodka throughout the day, and people like mention like, oh, he smells like alcohol. Like, and so he
didn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. It just, if anything, it kind of numbs you, but he's lifting weights, becoming stronger, which the one thing Dahmer has a weird thing. People who listen to true crime and read true crime, they kind of they're like, oh, he's attractive, which he's not. He's terrifying. They're like, oh, he's got like a swimmer's body. Like, he's like super ripped. Like, he's very weirdly like cut because he just weightlifted all the time.
Yeah.
Which came into play because he would wrestle and murder male prostitutes.
Yeah, and kind of got to be strong for that.
Yeah. And there was also the other thing was they almost caught him.
Is your dad?
My dad's sending me more gritty stuff. My dad is a Philadelphia sports fan, so am I. But they almost caught him because there was a call about domestic disturbance, and a cop showed up at the apartment where Dahmer was living, and there was a young, he might have been Filipino, I forget. He was definitely not American or European. Mm-hmm. Was out in the streets screaming about this whole thing, and the police showed up. And they were like, what's going on? And then Jeffrey Dahmer came in. He's like, oh, no, it's fine. It's sorry. It's just me and my boyfriend are having this whole argument, this whole thing. And the cops didn't know at that time if they just investigated, they would have found a fucking nightmare house of bodies in this apartment. But again, 1980s at the time, they kind of like, it's two gay dudes having an argument. We're gonna leave. Whatever, you guys handle it. They could have had him there, and then he went on to kill I think 5 more people until they caught him.
Wow.
I think his number is 17.
Wait, so what was the moment when he got caught?
He got caught. I think he got caught because he was always going to these gay bars and nightclubs and picking up male prostitutes and taking them back to hotels or his own place. And I think word got around about him, and that's where they kind of investigated him. Because they were like, what's the one link between all these disappearances? It's this one dude who keeps showing up, this guy Jeff, who's very distinctive. He was a white dude in a predominantly minority neighborhood in Milwaukee. Like, his apartment complex was all black people. Mm-hmm. He was, like, really the only white person. What is it time for you guys? It's 8:10 over here. Oh, what time is it for you? Yeah, it's 8:10. Yeah.
Same time zone.
Same time zone. And so but he talks in interviews. He goes, I would have to get blackout drunk. He's like, sometimes I would go out and I would drink and I would just never do anything. He's like, and he's very lucid in these interviews where you can tell he's getting counseling, he's getting proper medication. He's very lucid, and he's like, I'll probably die in here. He's like, someone will probably kill me in here. And he did. Die in there? Oh. He got murdered in prison by another cellmate, or another prison mate who stabbed him in the back with like a sharpened broom, I believe. Oh my God. But like, that's what I mean when I say the most sympathetic, because it's like, if it's that situation where it's like, if someone got to you at the right time and told you, hey, what you're feeling, I understand you live in this time, or it's like, I understand how people can think it's wrong. Just any kind of conversation or some kind of counseling of that, I think could have stopped it.
You think that Dahmer is the most sympathetic because his crimes could have been prevented?
I feel like his crimes could be prevented.
More so than any of the other guys. More so than
any other serial killer. Grace asked a question. Don't you think the prostitutes would be wary of the people they were with?
I mean, you can't really blame them.
You can't really blame them because, one, it's hard out there. And I'll say no because Willie Pickton, who is Canada's most prolific serial killer, who is still alive and was sentenced to jail in the year 2000, murdered up to 40 prostitutes in Canada. Holy shit. And they kept coming back, even though he lived on a pig farm and lived in a disgusting trailer in the back of a pig farm.
People knew that he was a murderer? Like, the prostitutes knew? Or are you saying...
The prostitutes didn't know, but he lived in such a disgusting... Willie Pickton is a very interesting, terrifying case. He's Canada's most prolific serial killer. He was also a millionaire.
Oh, what? What are you doing?
Him and his brother came from a family called the Pictons, and they ran a pig farm in Canada. And it was the biggest pig farm in, like, outside of Vancouver. It was, like, in Coquitlam, Canada, like, province, whatever, because Canada's weird and just says provinces and not states.
Canada's weird.
Canada's weird. But so, it was the most, super functional, like, made tons of money, sold to thousands of people and outlets and all that. So by the time their parents died, they took over. Him and his brother, Dave Pickton, who's also a giant scumbag, were millionaires by the time they were in their 30s. Wow. And Dave was kind of the head of the business, and Willie was just this kind of weird, like, hanger-on who kind of ran the day-to-day at the farm. He loved killing pigs. That was his hobby. He fucking loved it.
Just for food, or just like slaughtering them and then
like for slaughterhouses, he would just go and be like he knew all this crazy shit. That was his favorite hobby, and he killed I think the number is like up to 40. They have no confirmed number though, but prostitutes would keep going back to his place. He lived on he slept on a shit covered mattress in a trailer on a pig farm in the back of a pig farm. And they kept showing up and he would pay them because he had money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a driving force behind a lot of the stuff. And then and they don't know the number because he lived on a pig farm, and anyone who knows anything about pig farms is murderers love pig farms because pigs eat anything.
So they feed the bodies to the pigs.
Yes.
Oh my God. Whoa.
Pigs have the ability. A lot of mafia members in New York used to dispose of bodies by going to upstate New York where pig farms were, because they would know a guy, and if you starve a pig for a day or two, they will eat an entire body. In like a handful of pigs will go through a body like nothing and will leave nothing behind.
Is it okay for the pigs to eat bodies?
I'm not a pig doctor.
You're not a pig expert.
But that's how there's the movie Snatch that talks about that. There's books about the mafia in New York that would go to upstate New York and they would dispose of bodies up there. In the book in Hannibal by Thomas Harris,
they go through bones like butter.
Yeah, that's a line from Snatch. Yep.
Oh.
Pig will go through bones like butter.
You know what I recently learned? I'm sure you already knew this, but we're capable of snapping off our own fingers with our jaws. That's how powerful our jaws are, but our brains stop us from doing it.
Yep.
I just recently found out about that. I was like, what? And I kept trying over.
There's terrifying story. If you really wanted to, that's why if you're in a fight with someone and you're in a life-threatening situation,
you just bite it.
You can bite someone's finger off. So when you see things where someone bites a finger off, you're like, that's not possible. It's very possible. Yeah,
because I was watching Raw, and then I was talking to... Yeah.
Raw's great.
Fucking great movie. Actually, the grossest part of that movie
is
for
the hair?
Me... The hair was number 2. The number 1 grossest part for me was when they're at a party, and it's it's a random girl and a guy, and the girl, is licking a guy's eyeball. Yes. And it's the grossest part just because I know that wasn't faked. A girl was legit licking a dude's eyeball. That's disgusting.
Yes.
Anyways. But yeah, the part where her thing comes
off. If anyone's a Sharp Objects fan, did you watch Sharp Objects?
No, what's that?
It's a movie? Very good HBO series.
Oh, series.
It was a miniseries that just aired on HBO starring Amy Adams, Patricia Clarkson, based off the book by Gillian Flynn, who wrote Gone Girl.
Oh, okay.
So if you want a true crime story set in Missouri that also involves pigs, watch Sharp Objects. It's really good.
Okay. Add that to my list.
But they talk about pig farms. Wait, go back to stick to one topic. Okay, sorry. But
sorry.
Willie Picton. But we were saying about prostitutes. Willie Picton lived in absolute disgusting conditions. He lived like a king of garbage.
Yeah.
And prostitutes still showed up. There was also a point, and here's the other thing that's so terrifying was him and a prostitute got into a drag out knife fight. Where to the point where she got stabbed in the stomach and was holding her intestines in, went to a hospital, got sewn up, went to the police, and they were like, this guy did it, and still nothing. Because the Picton brothers also ran a bar and nightclub on their property that a lot of Coquitlam police were just regulars at.
Yeah.
And it's also the Vancouver Police Department after that went through a complete overhaul, and a lot of the cops were fired because it just meant neglect and how terrible they were at their jobs. And there was one guy, they had a super cop on their force who they hated. He came from other precincts. He came to Vancouver, had this system. I forget his name, but he was it's this kind of person who lives in this kind of area, who has access to this, and this, who is pulling these off. And they treated him like dog shit. They would just throw his boards away, and they hated him because he was making them look bad.
Right.
And it comes down the line. Oh, I'm right. And
wait, what? At what point? He did get caught, though.
He did get caught. He is serving.
He is in jail.
He is serving a life sentence in prison now. He was caught in 2000 and was sentenced. He's caught in 99, sentenced in 2000. His brother Dave, I believe, is still alive, and his sister, who left the family after high school, who was the only normal one of the family, got out real quick. She's like a doctor. She was the one normal person of the family. She was like whoever the blonde in the Monsters was.
Yeah, I was gonna say Marilyn.
Marilyn from the Monsters. She was the Marilyn of the family. But yeah.
Wait, I just want to know how'd she find out that?
About biting a finger off.
Is that what you're asking?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know if that was an older question.
I mean, it's your brain has things locked in it that stop you from doing certain things to yourself or to others, which is why a lot of things with serial killers, like it's comes down to mental stability. It comes down to certain things that are just locked in the brain.
They don't have those.
They
blocks.
don't have that block. Which it's like there's parts of you like. It's like I want to it's like I'm going to cut myself or I'm going to do that. Like for some people that block is not there. And it's unfortunate. And if you're having those feelings, go talk to someone, please. If you're ever having those feelings of self-harm, please go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But it's just the thing. Our brain is very weird. Mm-hmm. It's like you can even look at like the Mandela effect. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that a good majority of people remember a genie movie starring Sinbad that does not exist.
I feel like that might just be like us being dumb. Like I don't know, like the what do you call it? The power of suggestion. Like if you just go up to someone and you're like,
it's the whole
do you remember this thing?
Berenstain
yeah,
thing too.
Even though I do remember it being spelled E-I.
There's also there is also this whole thing that it's the idea that the life is a simulation theory, that we're living in a simulation where we're living in this simulation and then we have these blips of existence where we're living in a different simulation for a small amount of time. And that's why in this simulation that you're in for this split second, it's this instead of that. In this simulation, Nelson Mandela died in prison in 1996, but you're back in this where he died in 2006.
Wouldn't you think it would happen like more often than like? I feel like if that were the case, I mean, I don't fucking know, but it's like I feel like that would happen more often.
Well, I think it's the brain itself, because like you have things like paraphrenia that happen. Paraphrenia is essentially like when your brain just starts melting on itself and you start having hallucinations. It's what a lot of people contributed to witches in the 1600s and all that, where older women or men would just start, their brain just start turning to mush and they start seeing these visions and having hallucinations, and they would associate it with the devil or witchcraft. And that's why you get people like locked in sheds in the 1600s, just out in the woods. It's just like, oh, we're done with you. Like you're just saying crazy shit. But it's like, no, they're acting normal, they're talking normal, but for some reason they see this thing because their brain is dying. And there's a Radiolab episode that is very interesting about a woman who has location blindness, because face blindness is a thing as well. If you don't know what face blindness is a condition in your brain where you can't recognize one face from another. Thank you. Like, say if I was sitting here with Sapphire and there was another woman like sitting right to the left, just to the left of her, I could not differentiate the two of them. I could try to piece it together based on hair and clothing, but for a lot of people, it's very hard because their brains just don't register facial features. And there was this Radiolab episode about a woman who had location blindness, where when she was a child, it hit her, and she closed her eyes. And when she opened them, she was immediately lost because her entire world had rotated 25 degrees.
That's crazy.
So imagine you're standing in a place that you kind of know, or that you know very well. Thank you, Maria, Sepulchral Stories.
Let's talking more Ouija. We're gonna get to the Ouija board.
We'll get to the Ouija board, but it's gonna go long. But so stand, she would open her eyes, and just imagine this room turned 25 degrees in your brain.
Right.
So
but I didn't move.
Everything's still, you didn't move, you open your eyes, and then that is now there.
Yeah.
And that is there. Like, and that's just your brain doing that.
That I've never heard of location blindness.
Yeah.
I definitely knew about facial blindness, but like that's freaking wild. What is that Radiolab that you?
That was Radiolab.
I thought you were gonna talk about the Oh no, that's Invisibilia. Did you ever hear about did you ever listen to the Invisibilia episode where they talk about this woman? I forget exactly like what. I think she had a stroke, and then she had this condition in her brain where everything, like, you know how like everything looks separate, like you can tell the difference between things. She didn't have that anymore.
Oh yes.
Everything was just one.
Yes.
And she said that she strangely felt like calmer and happier because like she felt like part of the universe.
Yeah.
And then they like somehow like fixed it, and then she went back to normal, and she was like, I kind of miss how it was before. And like the fact, I don't know, that just like I'll never forget that, because it's like the fact that our reality is like so like depending on like what is like going on in here, like what is real, I don't know, it's so different for everybody.
Well, like it even breaks down to like what are aliens, like how aliens even exist.
Exactly.
I'll do one more serial killer, then we'll get to the Ouija board, and then
Sorry,
I guess
guys.
questions or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I want to do a quick tangent on aliens. Like it comes down to aliens too, because scientists and like astrophysicists and a lot of like experts in like travel and quantum physics, all that have said it's almost impossible for aliens to reach us through space, because our galaxy is essentially in the boondocks of the universe. Like the Milky Way galaxy is kind of like the like Truth or Consequences New Mexico of the universe. Like it's just out there, no one's going to it, it's so far away, there's nothing of worth out there. Jacques Vallée, who is a guy who writes a lot about aliens and alien experiences, suggests that what we're experiencing, when people experience alien abductions or alien involvement, they're actually experiencing rifts and openings in dimensions and not space. Because the idea of there being multiple dimensions and being able to pass through that is more believable and closer to reality than
having to like
traveling light years and galaxies across to reach us. How do you know what the limits of alien life tech is? I don't know. But
what if part of it is the ability to travel between dimensions, which is something that we do not have?
Yes, we do not have, which that could be another thing. So anything that's coming to our world that we don't know is, again, an alien technology. But like every astrophysicist and person who's charted the stars has said, like, we are so far out. And the fact that we live in this solar system that we've explored through either landing on it or rovers or just satellites and telescopes, and there's been nothing to send back, and nothing has contacted us in like from the skies, really. Like the idea of it being interdimensional travel is makes more sense than intergalactic travel.
He's a medium.
I'm not a medium.
You're small.
I'm a large or a medium depending on what store.
Yeah.
American Outfit, American Apparel, I'm a large.
Do you know who Big Deal Gamer is? Is that a name that?
I don't know Big Deal Gamer. Okay, fair. It's an assumption. Yeah, it is an assumption that the way aliens can reach us. But there's all these things where, and there's so many connected stories of the way aliens look. You are a 2XL. This is a large. I'm very tall.
Yeah.
I'm 6'2", but I stay trim. Like so many connected tissues with like grays and all that, where this is what's probably happening. Mm-hmm. But last serial killer on my list, and then we'll get to the board, and then questions are. Is Adam's Papa still texting me?
He is.
He did. I don't know what he sent me. He sent me, I think, a Google image search.
What? Oh, God.
He sent me a picture of E.T. Thanks, Dad.
Okay, Dad.
Thank you. Dean Coral. Last serial killer on my list. And then take questions. All right, I do have a 5, but Dean Coral, who was The Man with the Candy, which is a great book. He ran a candy company in Houston, Texas, in a place called The Heights. In the late 1960s. His mother started the candy company, and then he started working for her. He joined the military, was discharged, came back to Texas, and had the record for killing, record for bodies in America up until John Wayne Gacy. He was operating from 1969 to 1972, so it was like a 3-year window three and a half year window where he killed 29 boys.
Wow.
And the other thing that I find incredibly interesting about him is he had henchmen. He had 2 teenage henchmen who worked for him. So one is named David Brooks, who is still in prison and has never talked to anyone about this since he was arrested. Who was his first henchman? Because there's also the possibility that he had other teenage boys who helped him do this at another time, and then he murdered them, and then we never found them.
Oh my God.
And then there was Elmer Wayne Henley, who talks all the fucking time. He's a real chatty Cathy, loves to talk about what he did. Not what he did, but like the story of everything. And so Dean Corll was a process killer. He got off on the process of killing these kids who ranged from ages of like 13 to 17 to 18, mostly teenage boys, would go around. What kind of things would the henchmen do? So the henchmen, like David Brooks and Elmer Wayne Henley, would go around. Like Dean would hang out and throw parties at his place. So he had his own place where he operated out of. He would throw parties, and everyone who'd be invited was like...
How old was Dean?
Dean died when he was 31.
So he was pretty young when
this all
went down. Oh God.
So he was operating in his late 20s up until he was 31. I believe it was when he died, when he was 31. He would pay like David Brooks, and also Dean was a gay man with a beard of a wife in the last year of his life. That seems to be
common.
It's pretty common with serial killers. David Brooks was kicked out of his house by his father because his father didn't like that he was gay. So David Brooks knew Dean because he grew up across the street from Dean Corll, and Dean like offered him a place to stay, and like he's like, well, you got a rough situation going on, you want to come stay at my place? They formed like a weird relationship where Dean Corll was paying David Brooks for sex, essentially. Which like David Brooks could go back to his dad and be like, oh yeah, I'm a loser, Dad. I'm getting paid to have my dick sucked by this guy who runs a candy factory. Who's the loser now? Like,
he really showed him.
Yeah, he showed his dad. And then Elmer Wayne Henley, who was not gay, was just this kind of party dude in the neighborhood. Long hair, like kind of Texas scumbag kind of kid. And they would be used to go pick up other teenagers they knew.
Okay.
Like Elmer Wayne Henley actually brought a dude to one of the parties who Dean killed. Then Elmer started dating that guy's girlfriend, Rhonda, and was planning to marry Rhonda.
Whoa.
So it's like, oh, I like that girl. I want to date her, but she's dating this one dude.
So let's kill that dude.
So I'll bring that guy to the party, and Dean will kill him, and then I'll date Rhonda.
Oh, that's wild.
Which Rhonda ended up being the downfall of Dean Corll.
Did she?
So I'll get to that.
So juicy.
It's this. It's really interesting. So he would torture these kids. He had this whole thing where he would like strap them to a board and do. I'm not going to get into like the methods of torture because it's horrific. If you want, go read The Man with the Candy. It's a great true crime book about like a terrifying person. It's
How do you spell Dean Corll?
Dean, Dean, and Corll is Corll.
Coral. Oh, it's like coral.
Very like coral, like very coral. So he would torture and then murder these kids either by strangling them or just shooting them in the head. And then he had a boat shed where he buried all of them. So he would drive out in the middle of the night to this boat shed on the outskirts of the Heights in Texas, which at this time, it's the late 1960s, in a horribly impoverished town, which is also a sundown town in Texas, which if you don't know what a sundown town is, a town, some of them still exist, sadly, is where it's slang for if you're any kind of minority, don't be caught out after dark in this town.
Oh. Does this have anything to do with the town that dreaded sundown?
No, that's different. That's just about a guy who murdered people in a town. There's like towns in throughout the South and the Midwest called sundown towns where they're just horribly racist towns. But there's also there's nothing there. It's a wasteland of a town with people who have no existence other than hate. So it was one of those places, and you would have these impoverished, horrible families where if a kid ran away, it wasn't a big deal because you'd have these families who have like 3 or 4 kids. And it's like, oh, if our oldest son just all of a sudden ran away, I'm sure he'll send a letter in a few months, like, hey, I moved out to California. I'm working.
That was common?
Very common. It was very common for kids to just run away and go missing. Like, I'm working here. Here's $5. Like, I have this job in this factory. Or I'm working out, like, on a boat. Like, for kids, for teenagers, especially young men, to just take off and run away from this town that was full of drugs and sadness. Like, it was not a big problem. It was not like this crazy thing for them to go vanishing.
Wow. Okay.
And like some parents like did like put like there's this one family that put so much money into trying to find their son, and they just never did, and they paid this private investigator so much money, kind of bled them dry. I forget their last name, but there were families who did care about their kids who were trying to find them. But like for the most part, it's just like, oh, 1960s, like, and for the parents, like, that's one less mouth to feed. I'm working 3 jobs. I have 4 kids. Now I have 3, and I don't have to pay. I don't have to buy make a third dinner or fourth dinner. I get it.
Like,
understandable. And it's called like the Heights. And like in the book, he describes it as a place where you would find people. You could imagine people sitting up in their attics, just rocking back and forth, shuddering in the shadows of their houses. Like, that's how impoverished and sad this town was.
Yeah.
It's called the Heights. And it's called the Heights because early on in the formation of that town, there was an outbreak of yellow fever in like the 1930s. And the way people thought they would get away from it was going up higher.
Wow.
Where the sickness can't get us. Like, just go higher ground. And so that's called the Heights. But so Dean Corll was, again, a person who had a lot of clout in the community. Like, he ran a candy company. He was a businessman. He was a veteran. He actually had a military funeral. Like, they had soldiers there, fold the flag. It was draped over his coffin, pulled it up, folded it, and he was buried. He had a whole military funeral. But he was kind of seen as this like young businessman in the community. And he had this boat shed that he kept burying them in. And like, the boat shed became like, again, just pure neglect and horrible work on the cops' part, because it's like, all these boys keep going missing. There's a boat shed that just has stray dogs barking at it and trying to get into it at all hours of the day because there's just a bunch of bodies buried there.
Right. Wait. What is a boat shed? Is it a shed that is near boats, or is it a shed that's on boat?
A boat shed is a shed that is used to keep your boat in.
Oh! Wow, I was wrong.
And so they were closer to harbors and stuff like that, but they're all over the place. But he would just show up, and I don't know. I remember the name of the lady who ran the boat shed a lot because her name is Manie Manier. Manie Manier is her full name.
Manie
Manier. She said she would see Dean and David come by every now and again with shovels, and then just leave because just don't bother me, Manie. Just digging a boat shed deeper,
And she didn't say anything.
Didn't say anything.
Manie
didn't say anything. Like, so he would just keeping these bodies here. And so the downfall of Dean Corll came when David Brooks kind of was like, I'm done with this. He's like, I can't keep doing this.
He was one of the henchmen.
He was one of the teenage henchmen. He was like, and David Brooks was 16, Emma Rain Hanley was like 17. That's how old they were. And they're getting paid to do this too.
Yeah.
He's giving them like what is equivalent of like $2,000 to bring people they know in the neighborhood to his house. For him they would have parties. They would huff glue out of paper bags. Everyone would leave. Glue. One would be left behind. There was actually a part where David Brooks was driving a kid he knew back to his house, and the kid was like, "No, let's go back and party, dude. Let's go back and party." And David Brooks was like, "All right," and took him back, and that kid ended up getting murdered.
Wow.
And so it's just this whole thing, and then Elmer Wayne Henley was kind of like on the outs too. I think David was smart, doesn't talk because he's either smart or hates himself or the whole combination of things.
Are they still alive?
They're still alive.
Oh shit!
The two of them are still alive because this happened in the 1970s. Is when 71 is when.
Are
Dean
they
Corll
like
died.
Detained right now or no?
They're in prison still.
Oh, okay. So they were caught.
They were caught because I'll get to why that happened. So this whole thing goes down. Elmer Wayne Henley is kind of getting like. Dean started getting rangier and rangier, like kind of like as time went on. When he hit 30, he started having kind of like a quarter life crisis. He was super obsessed with like his looks and like and he was essentially like afraid of getting old because he kept hanging out with teenage boys, and he kind of wanted to live this lifestyle where he's also a teenager, this carefree teenager.
Right.
And he started getting like wilder and wilder, and his like wife started getting weird, and he was planning to move to Denver, like where his mom lived, and he had a very like loving, like over loving mother. Like his plan was to move out of Texas, like, and like there'd be parts where just his wife was like, "What do you think about it?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Like, I'm tired of stepping over these shadows in this town." And she's like, "All right," like whatever. And so like David and Wayne Elmer Wayne Henley kind of noticed that, and Elmer was planning on, David Brooks was leaving town with his girlfriend to go get married. His plan was to move and elope with his girlfriend. Elmer Wayne Henley went with one of his friends and Rhonda, his new girlfriend, who he acquired from getting his other friend murdered. I think acquired is the proper term.
Yeah.
The proper term for that. I know that sounds really misogynistic, but it's like kind of accurate.
That's accurate.
And they show up there, and Dean sees a girl and flips the fuck out. Elmer Wayne Henley said, he's quoted, he goes, "I can't believe you brought a girl here. You ruined everything." Like, Dean Corll was like a cartoonish example of what a gay man is. Like, okay. It'd be offensive. It's still offensive, but it'd be utterly offensive if it wasn't true. Freaked out. They calmed him down. Dean ended up drugging two of them, like tying them all up. And then when they woke up, they were all tied with their hands behind their back, and Dean Corll was completely naked with a gun in his hand, yelling at Elmer about how he has to kill all of them now and how he ruined everything. And Elmer like talked him down, because the one thing Elmer Wayne Henley is good at, he loves talking. He's very good at talking. Talked him down. They calm down. He takes the gun from Dean Corll, like wrestles away from him, and he goes, "Why don't you kill me then?" And he shot Dean Corll 3 times in the chest and killed him. At the same time he shot him is when his friend and Rhonda both were waking up and witnessed Elmer killing Dean Corll.
Wait, so Dean's dead?
Dean's dead.
Oh.
Elmer Wayne Henley killed him. His own henchman ended up killing him.
Oh, okay.
And Rhonda was quoting as saying Elmer killed the devil. And they go and they talk and they bring Elmer Wayne Henley in. He talks about how he knows how Dean Corll killed all these kids, and he knows like where they're buried. Like, he killed all these kids and he saved his friends, and he figured this all out. And he was kind of like a hero for like 12 hours. Like, his name was in the paper, like local hero kills like mass murderer. And then the cops are like, "All right, well, like, what were you doing here to begin with? Like, why do you know all this?" He's like, "Well, well, I know where their bodies are buried. Why do you know that?" "Well, because I kind of helped him with what? With bringing in kids and killing them, and maybe possibly also helping out and killing 1 or 2 of them." And they find that out. They go to the boat shed. Also, David Brooks' dad made David turn himself in, because David Brooks' dad knew that David was friends with Dean, and he goes, "You're going to go to the cops. You're going to tell them what you know." And that's how David Brooks got arrested. Because his plan was to move out of town,
right,
and go elope with his girlfriend and never be seen again. And his dad was like, "You go tell him. You tell the police what you know." That's how David Brooks got caught. Elmer Wayne Henley takes them to the boat shed, and there's also audio of Elmer Wayne Henley calling his mom on a payphone, telling her that he's with the cops, and she starts crying, and she's like, "Why are you with the cops?" It's like, "Well, I killed Dean," and she's like, "What?" Because Dean was a friend of the family. Like, Dean was like, gave them money.
Yeah.
Like, was seen as like this kind of good influence on Elmer. So here's where it gets gross. Strap in. This is where it gets really fucking gross. Gold star if you stay through this. So Dean would dispose of the bodies by wrapping them in plastic.
Okay.
And kind of sealing them with duct tape, and then would just throw them into this pit in their boat shed. And it's a boat shed, and it's Texas weather and humidity in the summers. It's raining. It's sloshing together. All these bodies are piling up, and the plastic is not zip tied or sealed. It's just plastic tarp that he duct taped together.
Yeah.
And so the bodies would just start sloshing out of them and would start decomposing to the point that they just became like black sludge. So there was bodies of all these teenage boys that were decomposing so badly in this nature that they would just become this like human mud in a sense.
Whoa.
And the way they like the way crime scenes work is you get a forensics team out there and everything is locked off, everything is treated with so much care. Like you have brushes and rubber spatulas and spoons, everything like bone parts, any piece of evidence is labeled, put into a bag, date, time, everything.
Yeah.
The way the Houston PD handled this was they had inmates from the prison show up at the boat shed and they handed them shovels and they said, all right, you're going to dig all this out and then whatever you find, just put it in that pile. And so they had inmates digging up just like literal human sludge and finding skulls and putting them in a pile.
Yeah.
And like, so many of these murders are not confirmed because they're just digging shovels and they're hitting skulls and breaking bones and like nothing can be identified. It's handled incredibly poorly. There's like stories about how like they were all chain smoking cigarettes to cover their smell and their noses because of how horrific it was.
Yeah.
Like, so they had prisoners with shovels digging up a mass grave of either full skeletons or decomposing bodies and then they had fried chicken for lunch. They had a break and they got fried chicken for lunch and finger food to sustain them. Which I just imagine a delivery boy showing up.
I know.
Like, hey, what you guys... Oh, God! It's just a pile of bones and men covered in literal black human sludge.
What is that? This might be a dumb question, but like, what would human sludge smell like? What does decaying body smell like? Is there anything that smells like that?
There's from what I've read from like police and homicide detectives and coroners, it's like there is nothing that smells like a decaying body. A decaying body has a very specific smell. Like it has its own smell. Like you can compare it to stuff, but it's like it's its own thing because we're just a mixture of gases and water and blood and like it's this whole thing. Yeah. Which I have heard that burning.
It smells like burning hair?
I don't know if it smells like burning hair. I know the smell of burning human flesh is very similar to pork.
Oh.
Yeah. That's
tasty.
one thing I have heard. Yeah. But no, like the homicide detectives have said like the smell of a decaying human body is so specific that you know it immediately. It's like it's something we've learned and we've known over time, like that we've come to understand like what that smell is. And so like there's the homicide detectives with Gacy, like they go into his house and they're like, oh, it smells like a dead body because nothing else smells like a dead body.
Right, okay.
But that was Dean Corll, who his own teenage henchman killed him, and he killed 29 boys in Houston, Texas for over 3 years and then was outdone by John Wayne Gacy. I know all this because I'm trying to do a short film about Dean Corll.
Oh.
I've done my research. Because I think the psychiatry and the psychology behind teenage henchmen working for a serial killer is terrifying.
Yeah.
But also fairly interesting. But black rotting human slug makes me think of putting that image. Thanks for putting that image in my head. You're welcome. But yeah, so Dean Corll and then Elmer Wayne Henley has given tons of interviews over his time in prison.
And they're still alive.
They're still alive.
How old are they?
40s, 50s, maybe?
Oh my God, that sounds way too young.
Because they were 16 and 17 when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 1972.
That's wild.
16 and 17, so that's 40 years. So they're in their late 50s. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the image. This is what I subbed for. Teenage Henchman is a good band name. Yes, it is, Mikey.
Teenage Henchman! That is a good band name.
And Elmer Wayne Henley talks... Anyone who wants to come talk to him, he chats him up.
Would you ever like reach out to him and talk to him?
No.
Not even for research?
Not even for research. Because I forget who wrote The Man with the Candy did talk to Elmer. And all of his notes are in there. And that book is very comprehensive and it's very good. If you like true crime novels, it's very good. It's on the same level as... I forget the author's name. He wrote... Deviant, which is the book about Albert Fish, who is also a terrifying person, who's the werewolf of Wysteria and the Gray Man and the Boogeyman. Like, he is literally like the inspiration behind the Boogeyman for a lot of people. Don't make chat only on Twitch. Oh,
I mean, I can still see your chat, YouTube.
But it's like there's so many. There's just, I think, something so interesting about that. The way that worked, where you have these kids who are in this situation where nothing is good, and it's like they're kind of doomed from the start just because of their financial status.
Yeah.
And
I mean, purely for the money, right?
No,
I mean, there's no other reason.
David Brooks is absolutely purely for the money. I think David
was the other guy.
What?
The other guy did it for anything other
I mean, Elmer Wayne Henley, I
money.
believe he said that he had a hand in one or two of the murders where he may have shot one or two of the kids that he brought to the party. But David Brooks, I think, was such... Because the other thing was... David had a hard time bringing kids to parties because no one really liked David. He was kind of a loner. He kept to himself. And when he got a girlfriend, that was kind of his, like, I'm out of here. Like, he kind of wanted to leave because, like, I've never had this before. Someone actually likes my company, and I don't have to bring her boys to murder for her to like me.
Oh, my God. He could have gotten out.
Yeah. And Elmer Wayne Henley kind of, like, was this dude who kind of was like, I'll do whatever. Like, I'm fucked either way.
Yeah.
And David Brooks was... I'm doing this for money. No one likes me. If I can get money out of doing this, that's fine. I'm a ghost in this town anyway. I might as well take it. And I mean, good that he got caught and that he turned himself in. But also, you're kind of just like, you almost made it out. Like,
I know.
You almost made it out.
I feel like kind of bad, but also like not totally.
Yeah, like you feel bad, but it's also like you're completely complicit in this mass grave of teenage boys.
What amount of money would someone have to offer you to be a henchman?
Well, like, did I hear Deviant? Yes, you did. I think that's the book about Albert Fish. I forget the author. He wrote a handful. Yes, didn't he write the letter to Gracie's parents describing how he killed her and ate her? Yes, he did. That's Albert Fish. The Gracie Love letters. Gracie Love or Gracie Hart? I forget. But he did that. Albert Fish was basically a boogie, like he kidnapped children and killed them.
Oh my
God. Completely lost track of what I was saying. Do you want to do questions first, or then
Detroit
Ouija?
Become Human?
That's a video game.
Oh, okay. Yes, questions, because we need
to
wrap up.
If you have any questions about anything serial killer related,
the questions. Let me see if I have a question. I mean, I did ask you how much money would someone have to offer
that was
you?
it. I mean, I did the math and breaking it down. Like, he would pay them like upwards of like $1,000 per night, depending on how he was feeling. And it's kind of like, by 1970 standards, in a lot of money. Like a shithole town, like that's a lot of money to a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, that's walking around money.
Yeah.
Like. And I broke it down, so it's like $200 at that time is equivalent to like $2,000 now, given inflation. Like, it was a crazy amount of money that these kids just didn't have. Have you ever played Heavy Rain? No, I haven't. I've been told I should, though.
I've heard of that game.
Because it is serial killer related. Can I ask the board a question? We'll get there.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
One time, there was a Ouija Wednesday where somebody was like, guess the name of my boyfriend. And we're like, we'll guess the first letter. And we fucking got the first letter. Woo. And it was very spooky.
Where does Adam work? I work for Legendary Digital and Project Alpha and Nerdist and stuff like that. But I also am a independent filmmaker.
Makes great short films.
Makes very depressing short films
that I love.
Thank you. Vimeo.com/A2MMURAY is where I post my stuff. Does Adam's Papa always watch his streams?
Is he still here?
He's probably not still here. It's like he's on the
Daddy
East Coast,
Adam.
so it's probably I think it's almost midnight over there, so he's probably asleep. I'll find out if he texts me in the next 30 seconds. But yeah, if I'm ever on like a news show or a stream, my parents usually tune in because I'm not on the East Coast. They're in New Jersey. Do you know how many of these you've done, Sapphire?
Oh, actually not that many. I think I've only done this for like 4 months. So how many? Like 12 maybe? 12 or 15? I don't know. I love your Stranger Things board. Thank you. It was a Christmas gift. That's it.
You should go to Mystic Museum.
What is that?
That's in Burbank.
Mystic Museum.
The Mystic Museum in Burbank.
I've never heard of it. What is that?
It's great. So there used to be a vintage shop called Bearded Lady that used to sell like oddities and just like antiques and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And then they opened up a cult bookstore in a sense. Mm-hmm. And they sell wood carved like Ouija boards. Well, I'm depressed, so I'll watch them. Thank you. Thank you, Walnut Nutmeg. But they have really beautiful like wood carved like Ouija boards that are gorgeous to look at. They have a lot of stuff on the occult and witchcraft.
Ooh, is this a new place?
It's been around for about the Mystic Museum has been open for about maybe a year and change now.
Okay.
They also have a space in the back where they do art shows and
cute.
exhibits and stuff like that. So they've done like
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna forget.
They have the return of Slashback Video is happening right now, which my friend Ryan Turek runs.
What is it?
Him and his wife now, Sierra. I forget if they're still engaged or married. Created a art installation called Slashback Video where they recreated a video store. Like, so they had the racks with VHS tapes of actual like VHS tapes from movies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever been into a video store, it has that exact same look and feel. Like it has the posters.
But this is an art installation.
It's an art installation, but it feels like you're walking into a video store from like your childhood when like, if you were like me, like I used to spend a lot of time at A to Z Video in my neighborhood and just kind of lived in like the horror movie section of A to Z Video, where you would just look at like, oh, that's scary. Just look at the covers and like you would never watch it. You would just look at the covers of it. You're like, that's too scary. And then, so they recreated that. And now they have it back. It's back in Mystic Museum. It's like $5 to go see it. It's great. Like they have like a counter with like a register and everything too.
Can you actually buy stuff?
There are artist pieces there where they made their own VHS covers of stuff that you can buy.
Oh, cool. Wait, how long is this going on for?
Maybe I think probably up until Halloween.
Okay, I'm making
Check them out this weekend if you're free this weekend.
Museum art show thing. Okay, and then what was the other book you said? Man with Candy.
The Man with the Candy is the Dean Corll book.
With the Candy, and then what's the other one? You mentioned another one.
Carl Panzram.
Yeah,
in his own words, I think is the name of the book.
Panzram.
Panzram.
In his own words.
In his own words. I think if you just look at Carl Panzram book, it'll pop up. Okay. Mikey A to Z Video. They had the best B horror section. Yes, they did. They had
A to Z.
They used to give out free movie posters when they were done using them, so I had a lot of movie posters as a kid. They also, I didn't learn this until much later when I was older. Their adult section was like in a hallway and like went to the back of the store, and the adult section was just lined with horror movie posters, like the entrance into it. And so like adults only, where all the pornography was kept, but it had all these horror movie posters, and the one I remember specifically was the poster for the movie Thinner. That terrible movie based off a Stephen King story.
I haven't seen it.
It's about a guy who is a fat attorney for the mob who runs over the daughter of a older gypsy man, and he puts a curse on him to make him thinner to the point that he becomes like a skeleton. It's horrible. It's a terrible movie. It's so bad. They had all the trauma films. They had the Toxic Avenger and all that stuff. Sergeant Kabuki Man. They had all those movies. But I spent so much time there because it was walking distance from my house. But yeah, Slashback Video is at Mystic Museum now. If you're in the LA area, go check it out. Ryan and Sarah are amazing people. Ryan,
I'm excited to go see it.
Ryan works as VP of development for a lot of Blumhouse stuff.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of horror movie stuff. Sweet. He's one of the people who's been working on the new Halloween. He's been an associate producer on that. Someone asked you when you start messing with Ouija boards.
Honestly, this was a Christmas gift, so I was like, okay, I guess I need to do something with this. It's from Kevin.
Oh, of course it was. Of course it was.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I used to be terrified of them, but now I
because we did a seance.
Yes, we did.
Which is very weird. Elliot was also there. I remember. That was a time.
How long ago was that? That was like 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm getting old.
No, it's not a Wendy. It's a Gothic Stanley. That one over there.
Oh, the Goth stand.
Yeah. Even though those
that's
look
when
like
he joins
Wendy.
the Goths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they just drink coffee and smoke cigarettes.
Okay. Should we ask? Okay, so as someone said,
initials.
Can it guess my initials? We can do that.
I mean,
even though I kind of can guess what your initials might be.
I can guess what they are. Maybe.
Is it AC? Someone else. Let's guess someone else's.
Give us an actual question.
Yeah.
Do you know if your place is on top of anything haunted, or if anything?
You know
sad?
what? The guest I had maybe like 3 or something weeks ago, when she was here, she said something about how like she started talking about how like Echo Park is like crazy haunted just because of all the gangs that used to be here and all the deaths that happened. And I was like, don't tell me these things. So yeah, I'm sure there's some shit.
Probably. That's not his name.
Wait, no, it's different. That's my nickname.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get it then. All right. I go like that because like it gets stuck. And it's really, I know, it's so stupid. Okay, so let's close our eyes. I just like to move it around and then stop when I feel like stopping. Okay, so we're gonna ask. Wait, what are we asking? What's AJ Chan's initials?
What are AJ Chan's real
initials? What's that? What's that? An L?
It's an L.
Okay.
Does it start with an L?
Let's get 2 letters.
Let's get 2 letters. Okay.
Go. And the second letter. S? Is it LS?
LS?
Oh my god, if it's LS, I am leaving! I am moving!
Is your name Leon Shark?
Leon was the name of the guy the last time when I did this and we were trying to guess someone's name. Yo, if it's Leon, I'm gonna lose my shit.
Linus Super
Saiyan. AJ, hurry!
Can it guess the name of my beloved dog who passed? That's a good one.
Okay.
AJ, get back to us.
Okay,
if
AJ,
your initials are LS.
All right, Walnut, Nutmeg. Your doggo's name. All right, ready? And okay, go. Oh, what is that? An I?
An I.
Okay. Should we keep going?
Does it
start with an I?
Does your name start with an I?
No, his initials are JAG. Jag. That's cool.
I like the show that no one watched.
Yeah, Walnut, Nutmeg. Is your dog start name with I?
Name Ian?
I know. Like, what the fuck would an I name be? Like, Isabel.
Maybe.
Imogen.
Imogen Heap. Is your dog an Imogen Heap?
If anyone else has something they want to ask the board, ask away. For what?
Or if you have any serial killer questions too, I'll gladly answer. I can tell you who my least favorite are too.
Who?
BTK, who is Dennis Rader, which if you ever watched Mindhunter,
he's that guy, right?
He's the guy with the mustache and the glasses who is slowly working to his kill.
Guess the name of my mom who passed?
I'm sorry.
I know. Jacked Animal. Oh, you're new. Welcome to the stream.
Welcome to the slam.
Welcome to the stream. Oh boy. Okay.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna guess a first letter.
What is your actual name, Jacked Animal?
This is such a delay.
What if it's like Jack Daniel Animal?
Whoa. His name starts with a B, but my name starts with an I!
Oh, shit.
No! Wait, what's your name? Is it Walnut Nutmeg? Is it Ian? Because it's literally the only I name I can pick. Irene.
Ishmael.
Israel. What? Contact my birth mother. Jesus Christ.
Ooh, a lot of mom questions.
I know.
Ooh.
Okay, Jack Daniel. Jacked
okay.
Animal. We're gonna guess. We're gonna ask for with the name of your first
we'll
letter.
Get
first letter, because okay, right.
What is the name of Gabriel? What is the first initial of Gabriel's mother who has passed?
Okay. A. Is it A?
Let's start with an A.
Is it Anna or Annabelle or Amy? There's a lot of A names. Isaac is an I name. That's a good
that's
I
right.
name. Gabriel, if your mom's name starts with an A.
Itzel. That's a beautiful name.
Oh, that's cool.
No, it's Mary. Son of a bitch.
All right. We tried.
Any other questions before we wrap up from anyone?
Goodbye. Wait, you have to say goodbye.
Oh, yes. Right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. You have to close that.
And then go like that.
Yep.
Somebody taught me that. I did not know. AJ. What? Oh, you're AJ. I dare you to guess my birth name.
Thank you, though. No problem, Jacked Animal.
Oh.
What's your favorite? Who's your favorite serial killer?
Me?
Yeah, Grace just asked.
I mean, I feel like I don't really know too much about anyone, but I don't even know if this counts. But Catherine of Bathory.
Oh, Elizabeth Bathory.
Elizabeth Bathory.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Does she count?
She counts. She's one of those pre-modern era serial killers.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's fucking wild.
Yeah.
What she did.
Yes. She's up there with crazy people like Tycho Brahe and like just people with extreme wealth who did insane shit.
Yeah.
Like if you know Tycho Brahe is.
No.
Look up Tycho Brahe. He is one of he was a Dutch astronomer who lost his nose in a sword fight and had to replace with a gold nose. And then also
gold nose.
He was just a crazy person. He was also incredibly brilliant. And he challenged another lord of of some country to like a horse race, but he said like, my elk is faster than your horse, because he had a pet elk. And then the elk got drunk because he gave it too much barley wine. The elk stumbled downstairs and snapped its neck when it hit a pillar in his own mansion.
Oh my god.
He also he kept a little person under a table, so during dinner parties he would hit his table and the little person would run out from under the table and like scare people. He was an insane person. Look up Tycho Brahe.
Wow, what a weirdo.
Weird. Brilliant
but was he a murderer?
No.
Oh, he's just a weirdo.
He's just one of those people who had like immense
too
wealth
much money
and could do whatever the fuck he wanted. Like Elizabeth Bathory, who murdered girls who were virgins and bathed in their blood to keep herself young.
Like, that's just like, what? Yeah. Oh my god. Oatmeal is probably the best tip. Go home. All right. I think it is time to wrap up.
Yes. I think you would like Eileen Wuornos, by the way.
Oh yeah, I saw Monster.
Yeah, there you go.
she's fascinating. I don't know.
She's another one that you kind of have sympathy for, because she's the same person similar to Dahmer that kind of came up in a had everything stacked against her in a sense and was like, good luck getting around this.
It's like all these people need is like just a fucking friend, or like someone to care about them,
someone to pull them out of the situation. It happens a lot.
It's really
people
sad.
Like Ted Bundy are kind of irredeemable because he came from privilege and he was popular, went to college, was a college Republican, like represented him almost represented himself in court. Like John Wayne Gacy was like a self-made man who was a foreman for construction sites. But yeah, people like Richard Ramirez, who kind of grew up in a shithole situation with his brother-in-law / uncle kind of thing in South Central LA, and Jeffrey Dahmer was a closeted gay man who had these horrible visions that he could not talk to anyone about. Eileen Wuornos just was dirt poor.
Yeah.
Harold Shipman with 218 proven kills. What? Is he American?
What?
Is Shipman American?
I don't know.
Or is this like a Henry Lee Lucas situation where he's like, yep, I killed all those people because they gave him coffee and pie. Henry Lee Lucas is like this drifter killer who worked with Otis Toole, Otis Toole is the person who killed Adam Walsh, who is a child of Joe Walsh, who was the guy who started America's Most Wanted.
Whoa.
So Otis Toole was this 6'5", toothless. I just spit on myself. Sorry. 6'5", toothless, weird serial killer who kidnapped and murdered Adam Walsh and inspired America's Most Wanted to happen.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Harold Shipman. Let me know, how do you know so much about this shit? I read a lot and I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. Shipman is his nickname. And I watch a lot of true crime documentaries. It's just something that's interested me since high school. Like, my two favorite movies that got me into filmmaking are Zodiac and No Country for Old Men.
Oh, wow.
So there's a pattern. Someone's curious about your favorite video you've ever done. I think they're talking about something scary.
People always ask this. I'm like, I don't know. That's so weird. I guess my go-to answer is the one I did about my grandpa who saw a tiki bird, which is like this mythical Filipino thing. I don't know if I ever like mentioned it.
No.
But yeah, when my grandpa was like working like late one night and walking home, he heard like this like distant bird call, and like there's this mythical creature in the Philippines where if you hear the call and it's like very far away, it means that they're close by. So he like just like
is it like an omen of death?
I mean, it can like attack you and like kill you. I mean, he's fine.
I was like, is it a banshee situation where you hear that or?
No, I mean it's just like if you hear it, you might get killed.
Oh,
but it goes after children and unborn babies, so like he's fine. He's neither of those things. What is this long comment?
Oh, Harold Frederick Shipman, 1948 to 2004.
Oh, he's
was English.
Recent.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was gonna say he's not American.
Unlearning a jerk. Wow.
Well, you hear all these stories now too about like these nurses and people like who are these like weird medical serial killers who are just like poisoning people.
There's so many.
Yeah.
That's actually like more common than it should be.
Yes.
That's really scary.
It's terrifying.
Because it's like these are the people that we pay to take care of people, and then they're just playing God.
They're just going around and poisoning people.
Oh my God.
Because the one woman said she did it because she didn't want to take care of people and didn't want to have to give bad news to people that their family died.
Oh my God.
So she would poison them closer to like the end of her shift for the week and then go away and come back. Like, that person died.
Up.
Weird.
That's so messed up.
How about the one with the floating head?
Oh, the Krasu. Yeah, that's a cool one.
What's that?
So the Krasu is this like, I want to say Cambodian
legend. Is it the one with all the intestines hanging out?
Yes, it's just a head. And then like, so the way that she got that way is because like she was about to be like burned at the stake, and then she drank this like potion, but like she didn't drink it like in like ahead of time enough, and so like it didn't work, and so like when she was being burned, like it only like the potion was supposed to like protect her from being burned, but it only protected like her head and like some of her
intestines.
So then she just like flies around.
And it just flies around. Yeah, there's a movie called Mystics of Bali. It's this really bad. Like,
is that what it's about?
Yeah, it's about this American woman who goes to Bali to learn about like that type of magic, and this witch like turns her into that.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
okay.
It's crazy. It's bad. It's very poorly produced, but it's insane. How about the one where the girl didn't want to be known?
Oh, the White Death.
Yeah, look up and Possessed by Teddy Bear. Also, Devil in the White City, if you want a good serial killer book.
What is it?
Devil in the White City. That's about H.H. Holmes.
Devil in
the murder castle of Illinois.
Why isn't my...
Yeah, H.H.
Okay.
Holmes is interesting. Is another American serial killer. Is another kind of like folklore kind of person. Because just the whole thing is it's such a crazy story that like it had to be made up, but it's all real.
Yeah.
Like that he had a murder hotel. How could you say something on stream? Hey,
how could you say something?
How could you say... Sorry.
Could you say something on stream? It depends what the thing is. I don't like being told what to say. Because we gotta go.
Is it a racial slur? No.
I know. Then like, absolutely not.
Just do all of Rough Riders Anthem for me.
Don't you try and trick us.
Azul, you there?
I know. Like, what do you want to say?
You don't leave us hanging. We gotta go. I'm by a taco place I like, and I might go there after this.
Oh, is it the one that's on the street? Oh, Diablo's great.
It's not real tacos, but I really like it.
I like Diablo.
Diablo's great. Adam, where do you post your short films?
Where do you post your short films, Adam?
Vimeo. On vimeo.com/ATOMMURRAY. All one word. Vimeo.com. Adam, do you have a favorite lore? God, that's hard.
I know.
Favorite lore. I mean, I'm from New Jersey, and the Jersey Devil story is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. That's just something we grew up with. Favorite lore.
Azul, what is this thing you want us to say? Yeah. Who is it for?
So guys, we reached 250,000 subscribers, 250,000 subscribers, and still going.
Who is that for?
How was that for a sound clip? Can you go back and rip this? Favorite Lore? I'll tweet it out if you follow me on Instagram or something, or Twitter.
Yes, Adam. Where can people find you on social?
Oh my God, the dogs are barking. Out. On social, on Instagram and Twitter, I'm at ATOM_Murray, MURRAY. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm trying to stay off of Twitter, and trying to not be so angry on Twitter because everything is a garbage fire on there. But I mainly post stuff about movies on there and small jokes, but every now and again I get angry about the political spectrum. And kind of go off, but I'm trying to be better at it. But I'm definitely following me on Instagram. I post updates on all the shorts and films I'm working on over there. But yeah, you can find a lot of my stuff through there.
Yay!
And if you want to DM me, and I will let you get back to you with what my favorite lore is.
Yay! All right, thank you guys so much for joining us for the very last Ouija Wednesday for a while.
It's not the end.
Not the end. I don't remember if there's anything else I wanted to say. I think that's it. Something Serious coming back on Tuesday, and I'm gonna be streaming when I draw sometimes if I feel like it. I don't know. I'm kind of at this point where I'm like, I'll stream if I feel like it.
Yeah.
Anyways, bye. Oh, my legs.
Were you sitting cross-legged the whole time?